Let me paint you a picture. It's a cold Christmas Eve in 2010. You're sitting in your grandparents' house watching everyone open their gifts, but something's off. When it's time for you and your brothers to open your gifts, you're all given something to open at the same time. Your brothers are given small rectangular boxes, and you, a big wrapped up box. Once your grandparents say you can open them, you rip through the wrapping so fast that you almost rip up what's inside. Your jaw is on the floor. You've only ever seen one of these once before. You remember how fun it was to play baseball with the strange remote. You just received your very first game console, a Nintendo Wii. And not just any Wii, the Mario 25th Anniversary Red Wii, with Wii Sports and Mario Bros included. But that's not the only games you'll have to play. Your brothers open up their boxes and find 2 more games in their hands. New Carnival games, and one other game that would give you literal nightmares for the next few weeks. Epic Mickey. You never did finish that game as a child, but about 7 years later, you found it in a bin with your old games, and decided it was time for you to face your fears and beat it. That's the last time you had thought about Epic Mickey, until February 21st, 2024. You're 19 now. You're in college, your taste of video games has changed dramatically, as you're now waiting for the first trailer for Elden Ring's DLC to drop. Once you're done spending the next hour rewatching that, you scroll on your phone and find out that there was a Nintendo showcase happening at the same time as you were going apeshit over Elden Ring. You're bored, so you give it a watch to see what's coming out on the Switch soon. Then you see this. All of the memories come flooding back, and you spend the rest of the night watching countless YouTube videos about the game you had thought you had long forgotten. And there's one thing that fascinates you: the amount of stuff that was released alongside this game back in 2010. There's game guides, a collector's edition with a DVD full of behind-the-scenes content, an art book, a damn novelization. So you think to yourself, wouldn't it be cool to collect all this cool stuff and make a video about it all? But I can't do that until the remake comes out. It just wouldn't feel right to exclude it. So you waited on the idea. As the months passed, you collected all the stuff you needed, and then it released. You zoom through the remake, enjoying every little second. You finish up in just 2 days. Then you do some doom scrolling before sitting down to start writing the script to your next video.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Huh. This Dexter show looks pretty good. I'll watch a few episodes. Yeah, remember back in September when I said my next video would come out in October? Yeah, it's November now. My life for the past 2 months has completely revolved around a TV show. Well, best not look at the past for too long. Anyways, this video is going to be kinda messy, as the order I talk about some of the stuff might be a little hectic. But hey, the video's here, so let's get started.
Oh my god!
Procrastination's a bitch, huh? It's April now. I just turned 20. What's taken me so long? Pure laziness. That's just the truth. In these 4 months, the only thing of importance I've done was take up a gambling addiction, which I started making short-form content on, but then I couldn't find enough packs to do one a day, thanks scalpers. I started playing Minecraft religiously again, thanks to a little movie. And I watched the entirety of this show called Twin Peaks with my brother. Rest in peace, David Lynch, you a real one.
Now, if you're playing the movie on a telephone, you will never in a trillion years experience the film. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
Anyways, after doing that, I finally decided to pick things back up and finish this damn video. So without further ado, let's do this thing. Back in the good old year of 1927, Walt Disney and his partner Ub Iwerks created around 27 cartoons revolving around a character of theirs called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Now, you might not know who on earth Oswald is, and I really don't blame you. Oswald cartoons were made by Walt Disney, yes, but at the time, him and Ub Iwerks had been working for Universal Studios, and after Walt decided not to renew his contract, he left Universal and Oswald behind. Not long after leaving, he created his own little cartoon rodent. You may have heard of him. He goes by Michael. Jump forward about 75 years and Mickey Mouse is as iconic as he'll ever be, and the Disney company is looking for ways to make Mickey look cool to teenagers again. One idea they had was for a video game, a game about Mickey exploring a world of lost and forgotten cartoon characters from Disney's past. But in order for that to feel right, they needed Oswald. So, in 2006, Disney made a deal with Universal to trade the cartoon Oswald for living, breathing human being Al Michaels. I didn't think you could do that in this day and age. Anyways, Disney now has the rights to Oswald and can make their little video game. So they bring on game director Warren Spector and his company Junction Point Studios to work alongside Disney Interactive as they make the game we are talking about today, Epic Mickey. If you want to find out more about the development of Epic Mickey, I definitely would check out Extraordinary People's almost hour-and-a-half long video that goes very in-depth into anything you'd want to know. Before we jump right in, I think it's obvious to say that I'll be playing the newly released remake, Epic Mickey Rebrushed, instead of the original for this video, but I'll be covering a few differences between the two. But the main one would be the fact that the graphics are no longer in 480p. Now that I've given an annoyingly long intro, let's finally get into the meat of the video. Epic Mickey was released on November 30th, 2010 in North America for the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo Wii only, although the sequel in a few years would be released on almost every console out at the time. On September 24th, 2024, a remake titled Epic Mickey Rebrushed would be released for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One and Series consoles, and the Nintendo Switch. The game follows Mickey Mouse as he traverses through the dangerous Wasteland, a home for long-forgotten cartoon characters who all live peacefully in a pseudo-Disneyland-style theme park. The game opens with Mickey as he wakes up in the middle of his beauty sleep and notices that his mirror is the same one that was used in The Matrix. As he steps through and ends up in the sorcerer Yen Sid's workshop, Mickey watches as he puts his finishing touches on painting the map for his next D&D campaign. Mickey, seeing the sorcerer go nighty-night, decides that he wants to have a go at painting the model, but he does more harm than good as he creates what looks like a monstrous demon made out of ink. He does his best to thin out the monster, but it ends up fleeing into the painted model. Mickey takes that advice and flees back through the mirror before the sorcerer comes back, but the damage is done. The model is ruined. Years pass, and Mickey has a good gig going as an actor. All is well on his side of the mirror. That is until one night, when the ink demon reaches through the mirror, dragging Mickey into the model, which we now discover is actually a portal into another world, the Wasteland. Before getting fully pulled through, Mickey manages to grab the paintbrush that he earlier used to cause this mess in the first place. Mickey wakes up from a blackout to find himself bound to a table, and what the hell is that? This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the many reasons that this game gave me nightmares as a kid. Anywho, Mickey is being pseudo-tortured by some old crone who we will come to know as the Mad Doctor. I say pseudo-tortured because yeah, he starts out strong with a damn chainsaw, but then resorts to using a plunger? What kind of torture is this? Mickey breaks out of his shackles and throws that plunger at that doctor's bald ass. The ink demon, who is actually called the Blot, comes back, but is scared off when Mickey picks up his magic paintbrush. After the Mad Doctor escapes, Mickey sees a rabbit lurking about. The rabbit, oh who the hell am I kidding, Oswald runs over to the torture bot's controls and accidentally makes it go haywire. And now is when gameplay begins. It's up to Mickey to destroy some machines around the room to deactivate the robot, and he is guided to do so by a strange teleporting green man. After Mickey disarms the robot, he retreats out of the room where he and the green man share introductions. This is Gus. He is part of the gremlin species of Toon. He explains what the Blot is, and Mickey discovers that his paintbrush can shoot paint and thinner that affects the world around him. Mickey and Gus work together to get through the next few areas in hopes to catch up to Oswald, who is mocking us all the way through. Mickey eventually comes across our basic enemies of the game, the Blotlings, little pieces of the Blot that can be thinned out to kill or painted to become friendly and fight for you. Mickey meets other gremlins along his way as he comes across a mysterious projector screen. These are honestly the highlight of the game. The projector screens act as warping points between areas of the world, but that's not all these are. Inside the projectors are 2D platforming levels that I just love the shit out of. All of these are based off old cartoons and they are so damn creative, although they can be a little repetitive towards the end of the game when you're going from place to place. So I guess it's a good thing that Rebrushed includes a way to skip the projector once you've played it once. After our first projector level, we exit into a segment with 2 broken amusement rides, which I can use to talk about this game's version of a morality system. Mickey has choices throughout the game, none of which really affect the game overall. Most of the choices involve whether or not Mickey helps out the people of Wasteland while adventuring through the world. In this segment, Mickey can help repair these rides, break them even more, or just flat out ignore them. Helping out in the world will often earn you collectibles such as concept art, so there is a bonus to going out of your way. Another thing to mention is that if you use thinner more than you use paint, it will affect the music played in the areas. It's not the most noticeable thing in the world, but it's a nice touch. The development team has stated that they wanted to do way more with a morality system, but they either didn't have the time or the ideas just didn't end up working out. Back to the game, Mickey makes his way through the Asian boat ride section and makes it to Gremlin Village. Once you clean up the place, your next projector opens up. We arrive at our final segment before our first boss battle of the game. Who are we fighting, you may ask? Everyone who's ever been to Disney's worst nightmare. A clock. Fun fact, they were originally going to have the boss battle end with Mickey thinning out a music box playing that god-awful song, which was the cause for the clock tower going ballistic in the first place. Sadly, they didn't stick with that idea. When defeated, we make our way towards the main hub of the world, Mean Street. Get it? Main Street, Mean Street, whatever. Before we can get moving through more of the story, we need to help a gremlin fix up the projector screen's power. To do that, we need to go around gathering gears and power sparks from all the residents, who all seem to remember Mickey, although he does not recognize any of them. Once the first projector is fixed, we head up to Oztown, where we meet one of Mickey's best buds. Oh my god, what happened to my boy? Well, in the Wasteland, there are 3 animatronics of Mickey's counterparts scattered throughout the land, and it's up to Mickey to find all of their missing parts and put them back together. This is not required, but it does technically change the ending of the game. Anyway, we make it through Oztown and head up to probably my favorite area in the game, Mickey Junk Mountain. This area actually uses old Mickey memorabilia to build, well, a mountain made of Mickey junk. I highly recommend these videos by Animations Down Under if you want to get into the super specifics of the real products modeled in the game. Mickey makes his way up the mountain and finally reaches Oswald, who absolutely hates his guts for stealing his stardom and wants him out of Wasteland. Oswald explains how the Wasteland came to be in ruin, and Mickey figures out that he was the one who actually caused it all, though he keeps this from Oswald. Oswald also explains what exactly the Mad Doctor was trying to plunge out of our chest at the beginning. Our heart. All characters in the Toon World have a heart, and Wastelanders have lost theirs, never to get one again. With a heart, anyone from Wasteland could escape into the Toon World. Oswald comes up with a plan to get Mickey out of his world, using a rocket in one of the other lands to launch Mickey back where he came from. Now the next section of the game follows a certain pattern, so we'll run through it quickly. Mickey heads to the next open area of the world, Tomorrow City, based on Disney's Tomorrowland, where he goes through a hurdle of obstacles till he reaches the rocket, only for Oswald to tell him that it was broken by the Mad Doctor and we'll need to find 3 rocket parts to fix it up. The first one we find right up this elevator in our boss fight of the area, Pete-tronic. After that, we head to our next area, the Pirates of the Wasteland, obviously based on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and a little bit of Peter Pan too. Do some more puzzles, explore new areas, defeat enemies, and we're at our next boss, an animatronic Captain Hook. After his defeat, we gain our second ship part and access to the final area to discover, the Lonesome Manor, based on the Haunted Mansion. More exploration, more puzzles, and more enemies. Finally, we reach our third boss for our third part, the Mad Doctor. Although this is more of a puzzle room rather than a boss fight. Our final piece of the rocket is in our grasp. Now we can get out of here. When we get back to Mean Street, Oswald tells us of an attack on Mickey Junk and asks for our help. Once we get there, we face off against the very thing that dragged us here. When we finally defeat the Blot, we help Oswald seal up the giant thinner bottle that's causing all the havoc on Mickey Junk. Oswald mentions that inside the container is the full Blot, unseen since Oswald sealed him up, losing his girlfriend Hortensia in the process. After all that Mickey's done for Oswald, he decides to make amends. Mickey sees this as a great time to tell Oswald that everything bad that's ever happened in Wasteland is because of him. Oswald, understandably, is furious, and while getting ready to throw hands, Oswald accidentally breaks the thinner bottle's cork, unleashing the full and untamed Shadow Blot. The Blot grabs Oswald and Gus and makes a deal for them back. All that it's going to cost is Mickey's heart, which Mickey immediately agrees on. With a Mickey heart at hand, the Blot starts sucking all of the paint out of Wasteland, and this begins the final stretch of the game, as Mickey visits almost every area we've explored to destroy the Bloticles. The last area we visit is Tomorrow City, and when all the Bloticles are destroyed, Mickey, Oswald, and Gus use the rocket to try to escape. but they end up crashing into Dark Beauty Castle, the area where we woke up in the beginning of the game. We make our way up the crumbling castle to Oswald's control room, where he would control fireworks shows before the Thinner disaster. Oswald tells us to set up all the fireworks to shoot at the Blot to destroy him. After a few tussles with the Blot, Mickey sets up all the fireworks ready for firing. But before Oswald gets a chance to use the detonator, the Blot appears and pulls both Oswald and Gus into himself. Mickey follows as he jumps into the Blot, giving us our final level of gameplay, where we have to destroy a bunch of huge Bloticles and enemies to free Mickey's heart. Mickey's heart falls into Oswald's hands, but after a moment or two to think, he gives up the heart to Mickey and sets off the fireworks. The fireworks completely blow up the Blot, which ends up releasing all of its paint back into the world as the whole gang goes flying their separate ways, with Mickey flying back into Yensid's workshop. Back in the Wasteland, paint rains down, fixing up Dark Beauty Castle and turning Hortensia, who had been turned into stone by the Blot, back into a toon. Yensid forces Mickey back to his side of the mirror, but lets him see all the changes that he's made in the Wasteland. This is where those little things that Mickey does come into play. If you fix one of the 3 animatronics around the map, they will have a happy cutscene. If you left them, they will have a sad cutscene. If you defeat a boss with paint, they will have a happy cutscene. If you got them with thinner, a sad cutscene. But none of that really matters since the game still ends the same, with all the residents of Mean Street happy as can be, and Mickey and Oswald seeing each other one last time. After the credits roll, we get one last scene where Yensid closes up the mirror portal, and we see that Mickey has absorbed some of the Blot. I really hope this goes somewhere, and the sequel doesn't completely ignore this. Anyways, that ends our first section. Okay, now that I've played through this twice, it's time to talk specifics. The Remake controls are very nice. Having the paintbrush pointer fixed to the center of the screen works very well. On the Switch, I believe they still have motion controls for the brush, but I can't speak on that since I don't have the Switch version. In the Wii version, one of the biggest complaints was about the camera, which from what I remember was pretty bad. You had very little control over where the camera was pointing, so sometimes the angles were horrendous. The Remake completely fixed everything that was bad about the camera. Now you can just adjust it with your right stick. Many fixes like this make it very clear that the Remake is the definitive way to play the first game. Alright, I think it's time that I rank this thing. Now for this tier list, instead of doing the S through F format, I'm going to do a 3-tier system: Gold, Silver, and Bronze. I opted for this because it's simply not fair to judge these games the same way that I judged the Soulsborne games. There's just not that much of a spread to warrant a 6-tier system. With that being said, obviously this is getting a Gold, especially now because of the Remake. The plot is super solid and full of charm, world design is superb, and gameplay isn't extraordinary, but what did you expect out of a 2010 3D platformer? Now instead of jumping straight into Epic Mickey 2, I'm going to talk about everything that was released relating to the first game. It'll all make sense when it's over, trust me. The soundtrack to Epic Mickey was released for purchase online on December 21st, 2010. The album consists of 20 tracks from the game, all of which were composed by Jim Dooley. The soundtrack was available for purchase through Disney's website and iTunes, with a future CD release being cancelled, sadly. Official artwork for the release still floats around the internet today, and I used those files to make my own copy of the soundtrack. Now, I'm no music reviewer, so everything I say is probably going to sound pretty stupid, but here we go. Let's go through this thing track by track. Track 1 is called Main Titles. God, I wonder what this could possibly be. The main theme of Epic Mickey is a great track. It showcases the theme of the game very well when it starts out all whimsical, then about 50 seconds into the track it transforms into sort of a dark mysterious track with some deep horns. Overall, it's a great track and a great main theme to the game. Track 2 is called How Mickey Ended Up in Wasteland. All that this is the music that's played during the first cutscene of the game, and overall it's a pretty solid track by itself. I love when it starts incorporating the music from Fantasia when Yensid is creating Wasteland. Also, the theme for the Blot is introduced in this track, and I think that shit goes hard. Track 3 is called Dark Beauty Castle, and you guessed it, it's the background music for the Dark Beauty Castle portions. Pretty damn good stuff, but honestly I think it was overused in the game itself. But that's probably just me. Solid track again. Track 4 is called The Gremlin Village, and it's the music that's used right after Dark Beauty Castle, all the way to the clock tower fight. And I think it might be one of the only tracks that I actually dislike, probably because it does its job way too well. It portrays what being in Wasteland must feel like. The track makes me feel like I'm in a dark, damp room in the middle of nowhere. and I'm seeing sleep paralysis demons. I just don't like listening to this track. Except for the end, which I'm pretty sure is the Clock Tower boss fight, which really should have been its own track. I don't know why they lumped it in with this. Track 5 is called Oswald's History, which is the music from the cutscene where Gus is telling Mickey about Oswald. It introduces Oswald's theme, which is really good. Track 6 is Tomorrow City. I don't really have much to say about this one besides the little bits where it sounds like the line music for Space Mountain. The next 3 tracks are just more music from cutscenes, except these shouldn't have taken up space on the official soundtrack. It's just the music from when Mickey meets 3 of the NPCs. They've got charm, but not enough to warrant their 40-second tracks be put alongside the rest of the album. Track 10 is the Pirates of Wasteland. It's got a nice vibe. Could have been ripped straight out of the Sea of Thieves soundtrack and I really wouldn't have noticed. Track 11 is when I'm gonna start getting pissed. It's called Transition Games 2, and it's a compilation of some of the 2D platforming section's music. Now you might be asking yourself, Transition Games 2? Where's number 1? I ask myself that every waking hour of every day. Yeah, they just didn't have a first track, and kept this track named number 2 for some reason. Anyways, about the track, it's a compilation of the music used in The Mad Doctor, Lonesome Ghosts, Mickey and the Beanstalk, Mickey's Steamroller, Oh What a Night, Mickey's Mechanical Man, and Plutopia film sections. These tracks are really good and you cannot tell me otherwise. Having the score of all the 2D sections would be the best thing in the world. All of these songs hit so hard for various reasons. Track 12 is Mickey Junk Mountain. Why is this so late in the soundtrack? Beats me. I mean, it's alright, nothing really more to say. It has some cool sounding metal sounds in some of the music since the area is quite the junkyard. Actually, never mind, the second half of the track is absolutely great. Track 13 is called Arrival at Lonesome Manor. It's only 37 seconds long, so no idea why they couldn't throw it in with track 14, which is titled Lonesome Manor. Some cool, eerie, Haunted Mansion-esque music for a Haunted Mansion-themed area. There's really nothing more to say, honestly. Track 15 is another 40-second track called Mickey Defeats the Mad Doctor. This is the music from the cutscene where Mickey defeats the Mad Doctor. Anyways, track 16 is called The Blot Escapes. This is the music from the cutscene where the Blot escapes. The only reason I'm gonna say anything more about this track is because it has the Blot theme, baby! I love that shit! Track 17 is The Blot Grabs Mickey. This is from the cutscene where the Blot grabs Mickey. Although the Blot doesn't grab Mickey, it grabs Oswald and Gus. Blot theme though. Track 18 is called The Epic Finale. This track I do believe is an actual solid track. I love that it incorporates a whole bunch of character themes. It truly is a good score for a final cutscene. Track 19 is Mickey's theme, thrown all the way at the back of the soundtrack for some reason. It's a toned down piano-based version of the main theme. Everything I love about the main theme is present here and in some cases is amplified. I love the simple quiet rendition of the theme at the very beginning. I could listen to that for hours. Our final track is track 20, Oswald's theme, a theme that we've been hearing in multiple tracks but never heard it by itself until this point. It starts out like Mickey's theme, quiet and sweet, then turns into almost a circus-like score, then into a not dark, but I'd say more mischievous score, then back into a quiet, gentle theme. I really enjoyed this track, and it's probably my second favorite on the album behind the main theme itself. Now let's talk about the album as a whole. It's a really solid score to a game where you really didn't need to go that hard on, but I do have a few gripes on the actual released soundtrack. Number 1 is the cancelled CD release. Like, what the hell, they already had the artwork made. This custom CD cost me $2 to make. You can't tell me that it's this hard to get out. You're Disney for Pete's sake. Second gripe is the selection on the soundtrack. A standard CD can hold an hour and 14 minutes of audio. This score comes out to an hour and 4 minutes. You had an extra 10 minutes of space, but you never did the CD anyway, so this is a bad analogy. My point is that there's so much missing from this album, and there's so much more stuff that could easily be lost. All the 40-second tracks, gone. 5 more minutes to make way for, oh, I don't know, more area music? Maybe the boss's themes? The Blot theme is missing, Disney. Where is the full Blot theme, Disney? It would be nice because of the release of Rebrushed, the soundtrack could get a full release. I don't care if it's on CD or not, just give me official tracks of all the main stuff from the game. Overall, I'm gonna give the Epic Mickey soundtrack a silver pin. I'm just not a big fan of the missing tracks, but what is here is still a bumpin' score. Really, dude? A bonus DVD? Hey, you watch your mouth, mister. This isn't nearly the stupidest thing I'm gonna cover today. Now, the Epic Mickey bonus DVD was released inside the Epic Mickey Collector's Edition, sold exclusively at Toys R Us stores. Rest in peace. I bought the Collector's Edition on eBay maybe 5 years ago randomly, then proceeded to lose every single part of it other than this bonus disc. I really wish I still had that Mickey figure. Anyways, this is about the disc, not the set. The DVD contains just about everything a growing boy needs. An 8-part behind-the-scenes video about the making of the game, a concept art gallery, 4 remastered cartoons, a game trailer, an E3 behind-the-scenes trailer, and this sick as hell painting video also from E3. Let's start with the featurette section, which carries our 8-part documentary about the making of the game. The whole thing is about 30 minutes long, and it's really interesting learning about some of the details about the game. My personal favorite part of the documentary is when the crew are talking about how they got invited into Disney's archive to do research on all these lost characters. Another cool part is when they talk about how Disney's animators made sure that Junction Point animators were making Mickey walk and move like Mickey. The crew actually recreated Mickey's movements from the old cartoons as an exercise before they started working on the game. It's a really cool documentary that you can actually find reposted on YouTube right now, so you don't need to hunt down one of these DVDs if you're interested in watching this. The next section of the DVD covers concept art, which is featured heavily in one of our upcoming segments, so I won't touch on this for too long, but there is some pretty cool art on this disc. The next section on the disc has 4 remastered Mickey Mouse cartoons, all of which had 2D platforming sections in the game. Kinda sad they didn't include any Oswald cartoons though, that would have been really cool. The final section of the DVD has 3 bonus videos. We have 2 trailers for the game, one of which being a behind the scenes trailer, and a video from E3 where artist David Garabati paints the iconic Mickey concept art, minus the blot, and ruins a perfectly good pair of black pants at the same time. And that's all that's in the bonus DVD. Overall, for being a free thing that you got with the collector's edition, this disc does its job perfectly. Honestly, the only real problem that I have with it is the fact that in the art section, the art doesn't take up all of the screen, so the quality on the 480p DVD is kinda cheeks. Other than that, I have nothing to complain about, so I'm gonna give the Epic Mickey Collector's Edition bonus DVD a gold. Pretty neat stuff on here. Alright, being completely honest here, I don't have jack to say about this. It's a game guide. It guides you through the game and tells you where all the secrets and collectibles are. I wanted to use this during my playthrough to get all the pins and shit, but the game guide doesn't include a checklist for all that, so I'd have to skim through pretty much all the pages to find what I needed to find. There was a collector's hardcover edition of this. I don't have that, nor do I want that, because other than making this video, there's no reason that any sane being needs to own this. Maybe if you're like 7, but if you're 7, you ain't gonna read through this. You're gonna turn to YouTube for a guide, and while you're at it, you're gonna turn on the newest episode of Skibbity Toilet and never play the game again. Our first bronze tier, gents. At least the tag on this thing says it was only 20 bucks. Damn! You could buy 4 of our next item for that kind of money. Sometime in 2011, Disney released a 138-page novelization of the game. And honestly, it was a fun little read. The book was written by Carla Jablonski, but was based on the first game's script. The novel follows the game's story almost to a T, with some very minor differences. The biggest of which is the fact that Mickey never fights the blot on top of Mickey Junk Mountain. He just helps Oswald push the cork back in. Also, most of Mickey's exploration around Wasteland is cut short, as most of the chapters have Mickey doing the main things, so there's no real traveling to areas. Mickey just shows up and kicks ass, basically. The only time they go into detail about Mickey going through a certain area is when they go through the Lonesome Manor, which they still didn't do in that much detail. But alas, this is a novel for, how do I put this, children? Anyways, some fun facts about the novel. Number 1, this thing seems incredibly rare for some reason. I can't find a copy on sale online anywhere, but you can still find this book's ebook and rent it on the Internet Archive. Fact number 2, the spine and the inside cover feature the first rendition of the Epic Mickey logo. You can tell because he has a nose. But when you open up the book, they have the updated version here. Fun fact number 3, this book includes many pages of art, which I never would have guessed would be included in a children's book. There's also those color pages of art that a lot of adaptation books had back in the day. Yeah, the good old days of 2011. Fun fact 4, this book was presented to Jadalyn by the AT&T Pioneers Jacksonville Life Members Club. Yeah, screw you, this is my book now. Look how good it looks on my shelf and not yours, loser. Fun fact number 5, my favorite part of this book was right after Mickey escapes the Mad Doctor's lab, we get a few paragraphs dedicated to Oswald and his reaction to seeing Mickey in Wasteland. We didn't get this in the game, so this is some exclusive content that probably only I care about. Fun fact number 6, my least favorite part of this book is when Mickey calls for the execution of Ned Stark. Stupid book, I swear. Fun fact number 7. I'm gonna give this book a gold tier. It tells you a cool rendition of the story while adding a few things that you've never seen. Yay, I read through this whole book. Now I really hope there isn't another book. A bigger book. That may or may not have cost me a fortune. The Art of Epic Mickey is an art book that was released just about 1 year after the first game came out. The book features hundreds of concept art pictures with details about every picture written by Warren Spector and the other Junction Point crew. What brings this book together is the actual meat of the book, written by Austin Grossman. This book covers just about everything a fan of the video game would want to know. It goes through just about the entire history of the game's creation. The book also discusses the different lands of the Wasteland and how they are based off the actual Disneyland park. It's a fantastic read if you're a fan. But honestly, you didn't buy this book because it's called The History of Epic Mickey. You bought it because it's the art of Epic Mickey. And oh boy, the art in this book is so amazing. You could just tear out pages from this book and hang them in an art museum, and nobody would know that they're not supposed to be there. Now, I would not advise the destruction of your art book, because this thing fetches a pretty penny on the secondary market. It would be nice if they were to print this again because of rebrushed, but I just don't see that happening. But fear not, if you cannot afford the physical book, there is a scan of it available on the Internet Archive. But man, do these pictures pop when they're on physical paper. I think probably the most interesting page of the book is this one. It's super brief, but it discusses the scrapped Alice in Wonderland segment that the game was originally going to have. Fun fact, the developers of Rebrushed were actually going to add this back into the game, but scrapped it once again. Maybe when Epic Mickey Rebrushed comes out, they'll finally add it back in. Now before I rank this thing, I have just one little nitpick. Every time the title is brought up in the text, they say Disney Epic Mickey. Now I know that's probably just a copyright thing, but it got so damn annoying to me for some reason. Anyways, rant over. This book is a great read for any fan of, I'd say, Disney in general. If you can't find it for a reasonable price anywhere, I'd still suggest reading the scan on the Internet Archive. This book gets a gold pin. It's great, and I wish higher quality scans of this art existed. I want this on my wall. Yeah, this is probably the most useless thing that I'm going to talk about today. There was an Epic Mickey mobile app, released only for iPhone and iPad. Yeah, remember back in the early 2010s when nobody made any apps for Android? Pretty sure you couldn't even get Angry Birds on there for a while. Anyways, this was an iOS app that gave players details about the world of Epic Mickey and its characters. The app is split up into 4 sections. The Wasteland tab brings you to a map of Wasteland, with descriptions of most of the lands you visit in your journey. The Characters tab brings you pictures and descriptions of most of the game's characters. I don't know why the Mad Doctor looks like a balding teenager, but that's just me. The Trailer tab gives you trailers. I mean, what else did you expect? But the final tab is what the app is known for. It's digi-comics. This app allowed you to read some comics that were made about Epic Mickey. We have a graphic novel recreation of the first game's story, and short prequel comics titled Tales of Wasteland. For the longest time, this app was the only way you could read these stories in English. Some received physical copies in other countries, but none in English. Until now. In just a few short months, we are getting the Epic Mickey comic collection on store shelves. I will discuss the comics in their own segments, so let's rank the app itself. There's really not much to it, other than getting kids to buy the comics using mommy's credit card. And really, this app shouldn't have existed at all. The comics should have been printed on real paper from the very start. I'm gonna give this thing a bronze pin, but hey, at least this app isn't lost to time. An Epic Mickey fan, known as Bane EM, recreated the whole iPhone app in Unity, so now anybody with a computer and 651 kilobytes of storage can enjoy the app as well. Epic Mickey the graphic novel is one of the 2 comic books offered in the Epic Mickey digi-comics app. It's a 64-page book that was a decent read. There are things I really liked about the book, things I'm a little iffy on, and some things I really didn't like. Let's start with the positives. The book dives deep into Oswald's thoughts as he sees Mickey come down from the real world. We actually see a lot of him before we do in the actual game, which I'm a big fan of. It adds a little more to the whole story, you know? Another thing I really liked was the addition of a little prequel story that lasts around 8 pages. It dives deeper into life before the Thinner disaster. Something that I'm not really a fan of is the art style of the book. It grew on me a little towards the end, but since I'm reading this shortly after reading the art book, it's hard to beat anything featured in that. The artist of the book also decided to make the post-Thinner Wasteland way brighter than it was in the game, which I think I like more than I don't. It's a definite contrast to the game, but some of the sky backgrounds in the panels look downright gorgeous. Now onto the things I really didn't like. Number 1, I think it's a bit too rushed. The pacing of the book is just all over the place. Some parts flow nicely, but then we only get 3 pages for the 3 different rocket parts that Mickey goes out to find. You know, like 3/4 of the game. Because of this, the Wasteland doesn't seem as big as it does in the game itself. It feels like it's the size of a small town, which it should feel like the size of a city at least. The 3 lands Mickey travels to get the rocket parts feel like they are 3 rooms down a hallway from one another, rather than a few miles apart as they should be. Does that make sense? No? Well, this is my video, I really don't care. I'm still gonna give this a silver pin, just due to the fact that at the end of the day, it's a harmless adaptation of the game's story. There's really nothing more to it. Epic Mickey Tales of Wasteland is a 6-part comic book released on the Epic Mickey digi-comics app. These comics are little short stories following Oswald and friends in Wasteland, way before the events of Epic Mickey. Anyways, these stories don't go in any order, nor could I really find an order of release, so let's start with Clock Tower Cleaners. It's a short little story about Oswald and animatronic Donald and Goofy trying to clean the clock tower because it's producing dirt. Somehow. Hijinks ensue as the clock tower can't get that damn song out of his head, so Bro tries to flatten the trio. Eventually the clock tower sneezes, and then all is well, for now at least. Whoa, the Mad Doctor's evil? Couldn't have seen that coming. The next comic is called One Scary Night, where the trio try to stay the night in the Lonesome Manor because Pete dared Oswald to do so. When they enter, they run into a bunch of ghosts, one of which is down bad for Oswald and wants him to marry her. They run away on a haunted mansion ride vehicle, which eventually takes them outside. Oswald heads back to his house, only for him to find a bunch of ghosts there as well, as Pete dared them to be there. Oswald makes it back just in time to see the ghosts running away from all 420 of Oswald's kids. Our third comic is called The Rubbish Cup, where the Mad Doctor hosts a storytelling competition that is secretly made to break up the friendship of Oswald and Horace. They both tell outrageously fake stories, Horace's about riding a shark that becomes a lawyer, and Oswald's about landing a plane in a volcano. The story ends with Donald telling a story about him training a giant duck who breaks through the roof, so Donald wins the contest. Our fourth story is called The Games Afoot. Oswald wakes up to find out that his feet are missing. We've all been there. Anyways, he hires Horace and finds out that Pete stole his feet for some reason. Now, this doesn't make sense because I'm pretty sure in the game, Horace says that he's never solved a case before. Complete lie. That's really all I have to say about this one. The fifth story is called Oswald the Lucky Duck. The Mad Doc has invented a special movie projector that will make Oswald into a new movie star. The invention fails 3 times in a row, turning Oswald into a duck, who looks a lot like Daffy Duck from Looney Tunes, a zombie, and a devil. The projector catches fire, then blows up, turning Oswald back to normal. The sixth and final story is called There's a Hole in the Sky. Oswald and the Mad Doctor are having a bowling night, when Oswald spots something in the sky. It's a hole, but you knew that already. The Mad Doctor manipulates Oswald into thinking that the hole will get him out of Wasteland, and he should go. The Mad Doctor is so stressed about the situation that his beard falls out in one panel, and then appears again in the next. Oswald wrangles up all 420 of his kids and crawls up the ladder of rabbit to make it through the hole. And then Yensid patches it back up, and Oswald goes tumbling back down. That was the last comic, so I guess now it's time to rank? Honestly, I really didn't like this. I mean, there are some good jokes, but the comics are clearly meant for a younger crowd, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense since the game itself appeals to kids and adults. But it's certainly still not the worst thing I've ever read. It's a harmless batch of comics, but I'm still gonna give it a bronze pin. Now, on to the last thing related to the first game. Epic Mickey Path Painter is a little flash game that was available around the same time as the first Epic Mickey game. It's a little point-and-click adventure where you run around 5 levels looking for the projector screen out. During this time, you paint and thin things just like the real game. There's also these film reels that you can find in each level. If you find all 25, you get to watch a little cartoon compilation with old Mickey and Oswald cartoons. I wonder if this was the first time you could watch an old Oswald cartoon in the modern age. Yeah, there's really nothing much more to this game. It takes like 30 minutes tops to complete. All the film reels are pretty easy to find, and the controls only piss me off a teeny tiny bit. Just make them WASD, man. I'll go ahead and give this thing a silver pin. Nothing bad, nothing great either. During my time looking for this game, I found that there was technically another Epic Mickey Flash game. It's based around the second game, but I'll include it in this segment because I'm not making another whole segment to talk about a shitty painting software for 30 seconds. Yeah, it's a little painting software where you can use stencils and stickers based around Epic Mickey to paint whatever you want. I could never get the stickers to appear normally, so this is what I made. Bronze pin. Alrighty, we are officially done with everything related to the first game. Now, I've actually never played the second game, so I'm kind of excited to see what all the hype is about. Wait, there's no hype? Oh, the game kind of sucks? Great. Epic Mickey 2 released on November 18th, 2012 in North America for the Wii, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, with Wii U, PS Vita, and PC ports coming in the later months. The whole gimmick with this game is the fact that Mickey is on his new adventure with Oswald at his side, so that means 2-person multiplayer, except on PC for some reason. I did play this game on PC, although I almost wasn't able to. Considering this is a 2012 game running on 2025 Windows, I think it's fair to see why the game just flat out didn't open for me half the time. I could open the game from Steam once, Then if I closed the game, or even alt-tabbed, I couldn't get back without restarting my PC. This almost cost me 1/3 of my recording session because I alt-tabbed out to check my Discord, only to go back into a white screen that I couldn't alt F4 out of. Thankfully, I did manage to get it closed, because if I had to shut down my computer to close it, that would have corrupted my recording. Anyways, let's talk about the game. I will not go into the depths that I went in for the first game for this one though, mainly just because I do not care about it that much. The story of the game is as follows. Oswald and friends are living happily in Wasteland after the demise of the Blot, when all of a sudden an earthquake hits. After the quake, coincidentally, the Mad Doctor shows back up. I'm sure he has a lot to say.
Friends, I stand before you a
Oh,
changed
well,
man.
he sure does have a lot to sing. Yeah, every line the Mad Doctor has is in song. He's blabbering about how he's actually a good guy now and can stop the earthquakes and repair Wasteland. And for some reason, Oswald trusts this man. Thankfully, Hortensia and Gus don't, so they construct a magic TV to call Mickey from the real world, and they tell him to go get the brush and get the hell down here. The following is probably the only enjoyable sequence in the whole game. Mickey travels through the laboratory to retrieve the brush and ends up in an endless ocean of paint. When Mickey gets back, he discovers that his house has been in the laboratory all along, and so with a little bit of platforming, he hops back into the Wasteland and falls right into the plot. Mickey and Oswald journey through new locations in the Wasteland that somehow didn't exist in the last game, as they investigate what is causing these earthquakes. They eventually come to believe that one of the gremlins, Prescott, has turned evil and is causing all of this havoc. When Mickey and Oswald eventually defeat him, the Mad Doctor shows up and suddenly Prescott is talking a little funny, and Oswald can't take a damn hint to save his life. As we get to the end of the game, we still don't know who's causing all this ruckus. Who could it possibly be? So when we travel back to the Mad Doctor's attic from the first game, we are so shocked to learn that the Mad Doctor has been pulling the strings all along. Wow! His big plan was to trap all the Paint Guardians to turn him back into a Toon. But he's also been running a TV show in the background and is broadcasting it to the Toon world so he won't be forgotten? Where did all this come from? I mean, it was obvious to everyone playing that the Mad Doctor was the bad guy again, but all the explanation as to why is revealed to us in like a single cutscene. Okay, yay, the Mad Doctor has an evil plan. Oh look, he has a big giant robot again like he did in the last game. Oh look, we defeated him. Oh look, the game's over. Oh look, a teaser for Epic Mickey 3. I sure hope that happens. Okay, I'm not gonna beat the living death out of this game the whole time. It does have some charm, but it's like 75% trash, man. The whole two-player aspect is a fun thing to have, if I could even use it, and because I can't, I'm stuck with the horrible AI of Oswald. This man can't listen worth a damn. There were so many of these little control panels that I wanted him to use, but he just refused to see that they were even there. He also has barely any help when fighting enemies. He might zap a guy here and there, but that really sucks when you need him to defeat a certain kind of enemy. When playing the game, it's very easy to see how rushed it was, and looking into it, the team at Junction Point was barely given any time to churn out a sequel to the fantastic first game. Fun fact, the original idea for this game was way better than what we got. The original plot was going to consist of Mickey getting captured, and because he still has a little bit of Blot soaked in him, the Mad Doctor would have extracted it, reviving the Blot, where the Mad Doctor would have merged with it. Mickey would later have to destroy his own heart to kill the Blot once and for all, but then the plot was changed to the trash we have now. Okay, let's just wrap it up. The story sucks, the gameplay isn't really anything new, the voice acting is really weird. Oh yeah, I don't know if you could tell, they added voice acting in this one, and the dude from Saw voices Gus. I think why this game just doesn't work for me is how empty the world feels now. Even though it's technically bigger, just take a look at me running around one of the last levels in the game. Yeah, there's a lot to do. There's also really no redeeming qualities in this game. I mean, the 2D platforming levels are still here. There aren't many of them though. As of writing this, I finished the game not 30 minutes ago, and honestly, I can't even think of anything more to say about it. I don't think I'll ever play this game again. Maybe if it gets a rebrushed version, maybe they'll make it better somehow. I don't really know. This game gets a bronze pin. It just really disappointed me, man. I'm sorry. Oh boy, at least the score is still decent. For the most part. Let's go track by track again, but faster this time. Track 1, Jensen's Lab. Really good rendition of the Fantasia music. This slaps. Track 2, Opening. The Mad Doctor is singing, everybody. Pull out your eardrums before he gets to you. Track 3, Mean Street. It's whatever. Track 4, Building a Building. Cute little theme for one of the 2D levels. Track 5, Floats. Honestly, I don't even remember what part of the game this was even used in. Track 6, Meet Daisy. Track's fine, nothing much more to say. Track 7, Disney Gulch. Funny little western sounding theme for a western area. Too bad you're only in that area for about 3 minutes. Track 8, Musicland. I think this was another 2D platforming level. I can't even remember honestly. decent track. Track 9, I'm Falling Apart. Skip. Track 10, Skeleton Dance. Why didn't they use spooky scary skeletons for this level instead? Still a fun track. Track 11, Blot Dragon. Generic sounding epic Mickey boss battle. Track 12, Prescott and the Pumps. More generic sounding music. Track 13, Float Yard. Still kinda generic, but does have some of that epic Mickey 1 darkness in it, so that's good at least. Track 14, Intro to Blot Alley. Definitely feels like cutscene music, which I'm pretty sure it is, but still. I really don't like these kinds of tracks, they just sound so empty. Track 15, The Mad Doctor Isn't Mad. Yes he is, he's also a really bad singer. Track 16, Dioramas. New versions of some of the epic Mickey 1 tracks make sense for the level that it's featured in. Good track. Track 17, Prescott's Machine. Just some more generic level/boss music. Track 18, The Fall of Prescott. Stop singing! Track 19, Ventureland Combat. Why does so much of this soundtrack use a banjo? Track 20, Autotopia Exploration. Wow, so much energy for a score in such a boring, empty level. Track 21, The Mad Doctor's Plan. Wow, the entire plot of the game explained to the player in just a minute and 8 seconds. That must be a new laziness record. Track 22, The Mad Doctor's Attic. I swear, this is a track ripped straight from the first soundtrack. Track 23, That's What Heroes Do. I think I hate this game even more now that I'm listening to these stupid musical tracks again. Track 24, A Hero's Second Chance. What the hell is this? Listening to cringy epic Mickey themed dubstep was not on my bucket list. Wow, this soundtrack is really meh. It's got absolutely nothing on the first game's soundtrack. And with the inclusion of the musical tracks and that really weird dubstep track, this thing cannot rise above a bronze pin. And to think I made myself another custom CD of this soundtrack before I even listened to it. Oh, by the way, apparently there was an actual CD release of this album back in the day. These pictures from Reddit were the only ones I could find of this release online. It's what I based my copy off of as well. If you have a copy of this, get it scanned online. At least one of the soundtracks got a real release. Too bad it was the wrong one. Yep, this sure is a game guide. Didn't have to use it at all during my playthrough because the game is so mind-numbingly easy. I guess it's Disney reviewed and approved as well. Good for it, I guess. I mean, really, what else is there to talk about? It's got a generic red spine. The screenshots from the game are extremely dark for some reason. It costs $20 and does what a YouTube Let's Play could do for free? Man, I don't know. Bronze pin. Yay, the last thing released for Epic Mickey 2! And it's also the only thing that hasn't been released in English yet. Yeah, this was only released in an Italian magazine called Topolino, but it will be getting an official English translation when it comes out in the Epic Mickey Comics collection later this year. I don't speak Italian, so what I'm reading is a fan translation, but I'm sure it's good enough. And honestly, the graphic novel is better than the game itself. It's only 48 pages, which only took me like 10 minutes to read. I still really don't like the art style of these comic books, but you know what? All of my bad thoughts are thrown out the window, because in this comic, they make fun of the fact that the Mad Doctor is singing all the time, and I love that, because it's the stupidest part of the whole game. The story of the game is told very well in comic form, to which I even wonder if the game should have been made at all, because the story in general doesn't feel like a continuation of the first game's story. It feels like a spin-off of sorts. But anyway, I'm gonna give this a silver pin. I still don't really like the story that much, but it's better than telling the story in a 6+ hour long game. Well folks, it's time for the final entry of anything Epic Mickey. Epic Mickey Power of Illusion came out on the same day as Epic Mickey 2. It was released for the Nintendo 3DS and is a spiritual successor of the 1990 game, Castle of Illusion. I remember playing a demo for this game at the mall back in 2012, and now, 13 years later, I'm finally gonna play the actual game. And now that I have played it fully, I have a few things to say. Power of Illusion is a 2D platformer developed by Dreamdrift Studios rather than Junction Point. It's a 2D platformer where Mickey has to take down the wizard Mizrabel, who just looks like Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty for some reason. Mizrabel and her Castle of Illusion have come down to Wasteland, and decides to start wreaking havoc. Mizrabel has captured a bunch of famous Disney characters, or specifically their essence? Yeah, the plot doesn't really make any sense. Well, anyway, Mickey comes down to Wasteland after Oswald hits him up on the TV saying Mizrabel has kidnapped Minnie Mouse, even though she enters Mickey's house right after he leaves. Mickey fights his way through the Castle of Illusion, freeing as many famous Disney characters as he can, and battling as many famous Disney villains as he can, eventually leading to the defeat of Mizrabel. I mean, the plot's pretty simple, although kinda stupid. I mean, what kind of plot do you really expect out of a 2D platformer? Anyway, this is an Epic Mickey game, so they needed to implement something to do with the brush. And what they did was kinda cool, but it's also the worst thing they could have done. Throughout the levels in the game, you come across things that you can paint using the 3DS's touchscreen. Now, painting in platforms and blocks, or even cannons, is pretty cool to do in a platformer, but whenever you need to do these things, it brings the game to a screeching halt, as you have to draw the thing you want to paint while the game is paused. This isn't that much of a nuisance until you get to the boss fights. These constantly use the paint and thin mechanics, which means you're spending about 75% of the actual fight drawing shit on the touchscreen. Another mechanic that isn't my favorite is this heart power bar thing. You need to fill this bar up 3 times throughout the game to unlock more levels. To do this, you must find and rescue characters in the levels, bring them to their rooms inside the castle, because they want to stay in there for some reason, do quests for the characters, and upgrade their rooms too. This is probably what took me out of the game the most. When I'm playing a platformer, I don't want to do stupid shit like this before I can play more of the game that I'm already not enjoying as much as I'd like to. I think the last thing that I'll mention about this game is something that you can't even see. I've never owned a 3DS until recently. I've always been a 2DS man, so I decided to turn on the 3D slider for the first time while playing a game, and the 3D effects are pretty damn good. It's not the corny 3D that pops out in your face, it's the nice 3D that adds depth to the picture. Imagine one of those shadow box style Pokemon cards you'd see on Etsy. That's how the game looks in 3D, and it was pretty nice. Now onto the ranking of this. I'm gonna give it a silver pin. Even though it has many flaws, it was still fun to play, and it is way better than Epic Mickey 2. After the launch of Epic Mickey 2 and Power of Illusion, Junction Point went to work on the next installment in the Epic Mickey franchise. But unfortunately, after the sales of Epic Mickey 2 didn't go the way Disney wanted, Junction Point shut down on January 29th, 2013. The closure of the studio meant the end of many Epic Mickey projects that were in the works, so I'd like to ask for a moment to mourn our loss. But looking on a positive note, the Epic Mickey franchise may be revived in the future. I don't want to be too optimistic, but we did get a remake, and we're getting the comic collection soon as well. So who knows what might happen? Maybe we'll get rebrushed versions of Epic Mickey 2 and Power of Illusion? Maybe we'll finally get Epic Mickey 3, or Epic Donald. Maybe we'll get what everybody's been waiting for, Epic Disney Racers. But honestly, I'm still happy with what we have, even though all of it isn't perfect. It's still cool, and it being cool is really all that matters to me. With that being said, if I can't hit Sick Drifts as the Mad Doctor in the next few years, things can and will get violent.